In this video, we are going to deploy Azure Virtual Machine and log into the Azure Virtual Machine. I'm on the Azure portal. First thing is that we just need to make sure that we got a resource group. So we got one resource group here, my workload RJ. And within that resource group, we just need to make sure that we got one virtual network as well. So we can say that we got two of them, right? Hub VNet and Spoke VNet. What is that we're gonna do? We're gonna basically deploy a machine within this particular Spoke VNet. All right, and this is something we previously deployed as part of the networking demo, right? So we're using the same virtual network in this particular case, and this is the CIDR, right? Within this particular virtual network, we got one workload subnet. And what is that we're gonna do? We're gonna deploy the Azure Virtual Machine. How do we do that? Let's go to the Azure Virtual Machine. Let's go ahead and say Azure Virtual Machine in this case, and there are heap of options. This is where you have to understand the things very rightly. It's just because of many things you can configure, right? Now, what are those things? The first thing is that the subscription. Second thing, resource group. Let's go ahead and pick up our resource group. We call this virtual machine as a, let's say, workload. I think call something which is meaningful in this particular case, web apps, right? Like something 01. Let's go ahead and place this in the Australia East region, and then you got some kind of availability option to choose from. And this is where we discuss zone, skill set, and the availability set. Now, availability set is what we're going to choose in this particular case, but what it says, there is no availability set as such, right? So we're going to create availability set where we can place this VM, availability set called, I would name this one web, and you can poll domain 2 and update domain 5. We can go with the basic configuration as such, not a problem in this case. And we go ahead and choose OK. All right. So that is the one. This is the security type. If you're not familiar with the security type, my suggestion would be just scan through some document. We're just going ahead with the trusted one. Doesn't matter. It means that there is a minimal, I think, security related configuration that comes on the VM. That's what the thing is. We're selecting the VM architecture as x86. If you want to run this machine as a spot, this is what you take. It means that as and when Azure need the compute capacity, Azure will go ahead and basically shut down your VM and take the capacity back, right? Because this comes with a discounted rate, right? And if you're not familiar with the Azure Spot VM, then just scan through some of the details there and make sure that you're understanding that, because Spot VMs are not good for the production workload. They are good for the pre-production or the workload which can be interrupted. This is where you pick up the sites. We just go ahead and pick up the sites. I think let's go ahead and pick this one, small one. We just doing the test. You can go ahead and specify the local admin username. Let's go ahead and specify that as OS admin in this particular case. And let me assign the password to this particular user. All right, so that's done. Second thing is that public inbound ports, right? If you want our traffic coming to this particular VM over the internet, in our case, we're going to use this because we're going to assign the public IP to this particular VM, and that's why we need that. But in reality, that's not the case. When you deploy the workload, you don't allow this at all. And once you select that, you go ahead and select the disk, and this is where you have to understand related to the data disk as well as like OS disk. Now Default one most of the time is okay, but again, depending on your use case, you might go ahead and change it, right? Premium SSD is what by default gets allocated to the OS disk, right? That's what you can see. These are the like a switch. If you want to delete the VM, this particular disk will be deleted, otherwise it will stay within your account, right? In some cases you need this particular capability, where before throwing the disk, you might zero it out. It just because of that is what some kind of security related aspects comes in picture, related to data sensitivity. So that is what you would do there. We're not going to check. We are going to use a platform managed encryption. If you got your own key, you have to encrypt using your own key. You just need to ensure that your key vault is created, as well as like a key is created within that key vault, right? And this particular VM should have a access to get the key from the key vault, and that key vault has to be in the same region where you're deploying the Azure VM. But in this case, we're not doing that. We're just going ahead with platform managed key, means Microsoft managed key. And this is where you will go and add a disk. In our case, let's go ahead and create one. Let's name that. It's not a shared disk. We go ahead and say okay. So you can see that I added that disk now here with 1 terabyte, right? And next one is networking. This is where we thought to basically place the VM in the spoke VNet, and that's the subnet. We're going to allocate the IP. It's a new IP will be created in this particular case. NIC security group basic. We're going ahead with the basic. It's just because of on the earlier screen we selected public inbound connectivity, so we have to go with this. Otherwise what will happen, it won't let you connect. You have to basically open up explicitly by creating like a NHG and then assigning to the NIC, right? So this screen navigation address that automatically. So let's do that. Inbound ports, again selected inbound ports, same port we have to select. Delete public IP and NIC when VM is deleted. Let's do that because we don't want any stale resources. We're not going to do anything related to the load balancing, but you can place this VM directly behind apps gateway or Azure load balancer. Usually I think this thing we can take into consideration or do later as well. You don't need to do at the time of VM deployment itself. So we go with none. Management, many things nice to have. Okay, so here you can see that system assign identity, backup, guest OS update. This one just make sure that for production workload it is manual, right? Otherwise you can go with automatic, right? Then boot diag, I think the first option is okay. If you want some alert on this machine, you can do that. Select this one and you configure your alert set, something like that. But again, these things you can do it later. You just do not want to do at the time of VM deployment. You go with minimal option, and then later on you can have rest of the other things basically deployed through different, let's say, pipeline or something. Let's see what is there in the advanced. Here you can add extension. You can basically add some kind of custom data which will get executed at the time of execution, booting of the machine, right? User data, all these things you can do it, or you can place to in the host group as well, right? All these things you do it based on your use cases, not necessary that you have to do it, right? I think as long as you address everything up to networking, basic disk and networking, that's fine. Rest of the things is something you have to ensure that it is in line with the design or other consideration, right? And let's go ahead and validate this. We can go ahead and deploy this particular VM, and we got a message. The basic required information is missing. So what is that we missing? Maybe some kind of here. That's the one. Okay, let's go ahead and review and create once again. We should get a green tick. Yeah, validation pass. You can see that we got a message here as well that your machine is exposed to the internet. You know that you desperately doing, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and create this machine. All right. So this will take maybe few minutes. Let's go to the resource and your VM is up and running now, right? How do you connect? You just go to the connect and here you can download the RDP file. Yes. All right. So let it download, then open the RDP file. I think let's go to the download folder because it could be I might have said that always open RDP with notepad, that's why it did something like that. So I am on the other screen, and what is that I'm gonna do? Right click and then say open with, right? And I am just going to say open with. Okay, and then let me bring that window here. All right, so let me bring that is how you get that. Okay, and then enter the credential that we entered. Okay, so just typing the credential and we should be in. Then again I got a message something like this is going on the other screen all the time. So let me bring here, and that's how you can see the cloud VM coming up. All right, let me maximize this so that you can see nicely. And that's pretty much, that is how you basically go ahead and deploy the Azure VM. What is essential is basically the design consideration around how you deploy, right? Such as like a networking element, some of the DIAC setting, how you're going to enable, how you're going to basically set up the alerts, right? Backup, those kind of things would be on top of this particular process actually. That's pretty much, I think I'm sure that this is going to get locked in because we're using a public IP, we're accessing directly. But if you do not want to go ahead and use a public IP, then you can deploy the Azure Bastion, and then this particular machine, can be accessed using the Azure Bastion as well. So Azure Bastion is basically the Microsoft managed RDP solution, kind of RDP solution to some extent, right? So that's pretty much in this video.